please buy physical media. This is just like a public service announcement. The more you know. Quiet. Defeated by delicious fruit pie. And we'll start. So, hey everyone, welcome back to episode 157 of Defeated by Delicious Fruit Pies. I am Eric Allen, or Ned the Janitor, NEDTJ on DBDFP. This week, we're going to talk about Toy Story, Stranger Things, and Jessica Jones. But before we start anything, I'm going to start with the mug of the week, and I do want to make sure that it comes into focus because it's pretty awesome. It is like a 1960s style, like your grandmother's mug. Like this would be in your grandmother's hutch, because it's totally a hutch, because it's your grandmother. And then you see it, and then all of a sudden you look at what it says, and it's like, what the hell are you looking at? It's totally like, I just loved it. There were many mugs that I could have chosen to purchase today, and I chose this one. And that coffee is still pretty warm at the end of the day. The other thing I want to point out is my Stranger Things Dungeons and Dragons shirt that I got today. Really just for the episode. Although, obviously, D&D is a part of the nerddom, and it's a part of what we always did together as a group. So it is important to me that I kind of just, show some love for D&D, show some love for Stranger Things, and we're going to be talking about that today. So let's jump right into the episode. I have a lot of things to talk about. I don't have much in the mailbag today, so if you have any comments, again, feel free, type them right into the live comments section. If you are watching this post-mortem, you can always look at the comments again afterward. I do read all comments, and I even respond to most of them if I can. So feel free to send those comments out there, or you can always email me at defeatedbydeliciousfruitpies@gmail.com. Very, very short email address, obviously. So, but it's probably better just to comment down below. Like the video, obviously, if you thought about, hey, this is like the best video I've ever seen in my life. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We are growing quite quickly, so welcome. All right, let's dig in. Toy Story. So a new movie came out recently, Toy Story 4, and this was, unlike most overdone and underdeveloped franchises, something that to get excited about from the first trailer. So I actually got pretty excited early on. And not one of the 4 movies has ever left you without a Woody and a Buzz. And it continually hit you in the nostalgia button with the iconic toys of yesteryear. Every movie in the series has done the original justice, and this one is no exception, this Toy Story 4. So let's talk about the love in my heart for the Toy Story series, as well as for Toy Story 4. So voice actors. This is the first big, and probably the biggest part of what makes Toy Story as a series something so successful, especially given how many animated series that there are out there. I mean, I just saw that there's The Secret Life of Pets 2. There's a 2? What was the first one? The Secret Life of... Who cares? The point is, other animal movies about things that do things when humans are not there. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. So why do people care so much about Toy Story? Why on Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes did this have the highest ranking of almost every movie that's been out in the last 2 months? Why? Voice actors. Voice acting is the key to the Toy Story series. So this was a huge deal for the first movie, and the fact that they were able to keep getting the same lead actors on these movie after movie is pretty impressive, actually. At a time where Hollywood is divisive and political, Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, they partner up with all of the love that 2 possessed plastic dolls could have for each other or expected to have for each other. It's also important that the acting is strong for these action figures, slinkies, dolls, lamps, I love lamp, and phones, like fake phones. The toy phone. Did you have the toy phone? I totally had the toy phone. So it's really important that, and it's exciting to have these people when the humans are intimately tied to the movie, but then like you kind of don't care about them anymore because they get too old to care about, because they're college students. Those damn college students. If you're one of my college students, you damn college students, you know what I'm talking about. Clearly, by the end of the second movie, it really was all about the toys. It wasn't really about Andy anymore. It wasn't about kids anymore. It was about the toys. You care about the toys. How did you get there? Voice acting. You cared about those characters because the inflection, the tonality, just all of that great stuff that these amazing actors could bring to the table were able to put into these animated freaks. And by freaks, I just mean that they really shouldn't have been talking or moving autonomously. Bo is a lamp. Like literally, she's like a ceramic lamp. She shouldn't move. Like my point is, she's not mobile. Like Woody, I get it. He's got like the flappy arms. Like she's ceramic. Even like she's a freak. Anyway, clearly, it's about the toys by the end of the second movie, and since they had succeeded in making their child's life infinitely better than it would have been simply by constantly cleaning themselves up, protecting each other from harm, and at times recruiting new toys for Andy without him even winning at the crane game, lucky jerk. You ever play the crane game? This kid got free crane game toys, like, and he got his toys back that were also in the crane game. Like, crane games are rigged. It's a trap. It's actually a conspiracy. I wish I had that X-Files theme song that I could just like push the button. It would be like bearing and stuff like on the salt mine. Like totally, I would do that. Anyway, and he's a jerk. The point is they made his life better because of all the work they did, which is probably the work that your toys did. Assuming you also had possessed plastic freaks that were able to do things for you, even if they were porcelain and they were part of a lamp and they just kept you safe at night. I think I need therapy after all these Toy Story movies. Anyway, when an evil Care Bear jeopardizes the future of our favorite playthings, the third movie does a great job of making it feel important that they do not end up in the junkyard like all of the toys that we left behind as kids. Or parts of the toys that we ripped off and then ruthlessly experimented on. That was just me. That was just me? That never happened. We didn't do that. What were we talking about? Anyway, the fourth movie's no exception to this winning streak of G-rated movies with parts that are hilarious, scenes that actually had the kind of stuff of nightmares. Like, honestly, it should have been part of my Scary Stories episode with some of the stuff that was in the fourth movie. It was pretty freaky, and they did a good job with it. Children beware, I guess. I don't know. It's funny to see kids get scared, and I think they agree. And a plot that was crazy but keeps you interested, and somehow, I will note this, they managed to make a full-length movie with a complete story and a resolution, and it didn't feel rushed in way under 2 hours. I'm looking at you, Marvel. I'm looking right at you. Actually, I'm looking at a camera. And I don't know who Marvel is, unless it's Captain Marvel, in which case I'm not really looking you eye to eye. I'm not afraid, I'm just not stupid. But like the people who make these comics, these movies, the comics, they don't really care. It's like not that long. How hard is it to make a good movie in less than 3 hours? Can we do that, please? You know, I was out of the movie theater and I was like, wow, I have so much life to live. And I got to see this whole movie. Thank you, Pixar. Thank you. So anyway, go see Toy Story 4. Basically, if you're watching this in the future, like way in the future, and it's not even out in theaters anymore, go watch Toy Story 4 anyway. Because it's probably available on DVD, not VHS, but digital copies, of course, and you're not really going to own it because that's not a thing. How ridiculous is it that you buy movies digitally? You know, like it's this controversy. I just saw this article where it was like they had books that you were buying on Microsoft Store or something, and then they're all gone until January of 2020. Yeah, and it doesn't matter. You bought them. Too bad. Because they control whether or not you can access them. So did you really buy them? No, says Apple and Microsoft. You bought the right to lease them. Like ish. Like you don't own them, but you can access them. Unless, you know, we don't want you to. And we're not going to give you a refund. We're not going to say sorry. We're not going to be like, haha, LOL. We don't really care. You don't own anything. We own everything. We own your soul. None of that. Not even a public admission of guilt. So please buy physical media. This is just like a public service announcement. The more you know. Quiet. The point is, you do have to buy things in order to really own them, and renting them digitally for 20 years. Like I remember I bought something on Xbox and it's like, you own this until the year 2020. And I'm thinking like, oh, that's like forever away because it was like 2012. Well, my time's running out. And half my movie library is going to disappear. So, buy it on DVD. The point is, watch Toy Story 4, even if it's in the future. And, you know, if you haven't seen the other ones, do that first. Comment below with your thoughts on Toy Story 1, 2, 3, and 4. Anyway, that's it. That's all I want to talk about with Toy Story. Please, again, leave your comments below if you want to talk about Toy Story or anything related to Toy Story. I'm tired of saying Toy Story. Ugh, it's just like too much toy and story. Anyway, let's talk about something else that obviously is near and dear to my heart, which is Stranger Things. No, like the show Stranger Things. Not that there are Stranger Things that I'm into. I'm into strange things. I only took off the parts of toys that weren't mine, okay? And sometimes I threw a G.I. Joe in a hole in the wall in the bathroom to piss off my brother, okay? Like, I'm not that weird. It could be Stranger Things, but like, I don't know why you're judging me right now. God. I know, we're talking about the show. Anyway, on Netflix, Stranger Things has come back, and it's come back into our lives like a familiar serial killer movie around Halloween. You know? That warm and fuzzy feeling you get. We know it's not going to help us sleep well while we go through the storyline, but we welcome and embrace the familiarity of that scary and often disgusting avatar of fear. Whether that's Mike Myers or Jason or Freddy Krueger or some amalgamous blobby thing that's in the sky and makes the hair stand up on the back of one of the kids' necks in the show. The thing about Stranger Things that has been an added bonus, though, is the integration of the 80s without it feeling like I'm being injected with a giant nostalgia pump with a prescription mistakenly given to me instead of a crackhead who watches The Breakfast Club every morning and Friday afternoon specials for lunch and then Rumblefish for dinner. I mean, it's close, but it's not exactly that. Like, you know, they showed the Cocoa Puffs and they showed the Captain Crunch with Mr. T and they showed, I think, the Michael Jordan's Wheaties, but it wasn't that bad. They had the old Lucky Charms box, and that was cool. They do a lot of cool things, but like it's always references. It's always this referential nonsense. Although, you know, and I said this and I wrote this episode out, and then I happened to go and watch another part of the show, and they made this really intentional, obnoxious plug for the fact that they were talking about the new Coke. And so here, I'm going to give a comparison here because here's a show, and I will critique anything I love, and I don't mind critiquing things that I love because obviously Stranger Things, like, you know, I love it. But I have no problem critiquing it when it's not good. And something that it didn't do well there was the new Coke thing. Now, earlier in the series of this season, and again, none of this is spoilers because I'm talking about product placement. And if you're having a problem with like product placement as a spoiler, you need help and seek it. Don't dial 911, but look up a warm line locally for you, or maybe a center for somebody who's just ready to listen to you and all your nonsense about how Eric spoiled your whole experience with Stranger Things because he started talking about product placement on a show. Because I don't care. Anyway, so they had a scene in an episode where one person was drinking Pepsi, one person was drinking Coke, and one person was drinking something nondescript, or I wasn't paying attention because I didn't care that much. And it was just fine because it was like the old Pepsi can, the old new Coke can. Like, I get it. But then when they got really into this, they wasted like a minute, almost a minute of time in an intense scene. And it's kind of that juxtaposition that it was okay. It was funny because of that. But they didn't need it, and they could have done it with something else. And they already touched on New Coke because it existed like 2 or 3 times elsewhere in the show, which, again, if Coca-Cola is just advertising shamelessly with New Coke in their show, I don't get it because you can't buy it anymore. So, and if you can buy it now and it's just this limited time thing, they spend an awful lot of money saturating the market for a product that they're not going to sell for very long. So anyway, you know, a great movie that did a great job advertising that they were in the 80s using the new Coke? I know. You already said it. The Wedding Singer. The Wedding Singer did a fantastic job with the 80s in general, and go get the soundtrack to The Wedding Singer. It is phenomenal. But in The Wedding Singer, in the very beginning of the movie, there is a radio in the background of the kitchen area for where the catering is going on for a wedding. This person's being interviewed, and they go, well, I like the old Coke recipe because, you know, it's old, and so am I. And that's it. That's all they do. And it's like, that's all you needed to know that this was a time period where they're talking about the new Coke. And it was funny, and it was just really clever, and it was just goofing on somebody, and it's just such a ridiculous line, like, well, I like it because it's old, and so am I. That's funny, and who would say that? Stranger Things really jumped the shark on the new Coke thing, which is funny because it's like a Happy Days reference, which was also a time period piece show that was, you know, in the 80s. Do you get it? You get it. Most of you guys get it. If you don't get it, again, seek a warm line and somebody who cares about what you... Anyway, this series has been treasured by the whole crew at DBDFP, and with good reason. We played Dungeons and Dragons as kids, and like after, in our summers after college. We still have our comic books from the 80s and 90s. I had a proton pack and action figures from Ghostbusters when I was a kid, and I'm not the only one out of my friend group. We dressed up for Halloween together, as adults, because when we were kids, we couldn't really control what we were. And we rode bikes in the summer to hang out. I mean, this show has not just been a great sci-fi fantasy story with like a mystery twist of like a choose your own adventure. It's been a documentary of our lives as children. I mean, like a mockumentary, I guess. They're way funnier than we were. Not that we didn't crack ourselves up exactly like I do now. Man, the show. Do you think the show will progress to a point where like one of them will be doing an episode on YouTube in like the mid 2000, like maybe 2014, and they start talking about how nostalgic everything was from the 80s? Do you think that'll be like season, I don't know, like 12 of Stranger Things? Would you? I don't think I'd want to watch that. That just got way too real. Wow. I feel like we know each other better now. Actually, I don't know you at all. I don't even know why you're looking at me right now. But let's go on. So this season is happily not many episodes, and that's fine with me under the whole quality over quantity principle. It's still weird, though, to see Winona Ryder in a show that has a lot of 80s references, but no Beetlejuice anywhere. So, like, I get it, because... I figured they probably feel like there's enough problems going on with all like, the nasty stuff and, without a bioexorcist jumping into the picture. Because if Michael Keaton, in some meta way, was hanging out with Winona Ryder in Beetlejuice the movie that Winona Ryder's son in the show was watching, and then like looked at the TV because somehow it was being possessed by like the mind flayer, I think my head would explode. But it would be awesome to see Michael Keaton in the show. Let's not lie to ourselves. Although, and this is maybe a minor spoiler, not really. There's a Busey in this season. there's a Busey. No, it's not Gary Busey. And he's not here to talk about hobbits. And he's not here to tell you all the other things. But there may be a Busey from a certain Starship Troopers. Yeah, buddy. It's worth it. Anyway, this is all of the things that you need to know about this season. It's happily one of the better seasons. And, considering it's season 3, I could say this. Season 2 was not my favorite. It was weird. It ended really weirdly. I'm not a fan of how it turned out. This season is much better than season 2. So if you were kind of turned off by season 2, don't fret. I kind of felt that way about season 3 of Dexter, and then I went on and watched season 4, and it had like Gary Lithgow. It was the best season of that show, the entirety, and I loved season 1 and 2 of Dexter. But season 3 really turned me off, and I'm usually not like a more than 2 season guy with like shows that I'm experimenting with, especially with Netflix. And that's gonna lead us to my last point of the evening, which is Jessica Jones. It's like a mic drop, but it was really my mouse. You probably didn't even hear that because the microphone didn't pick it up. But anyway, I have not been a great Marvel fan or a Marvel super fan for the last like year. Because like I couldn't get through the last seasons of any of the Netflix Marvel shows. And honestly, I didn't see like 3 Marvel movies in the theater. I had to like go back, read timelines, decide whether or not I was going to watch the movie. And then, I watched most of them. No, I watched all of them. But did I pay attention really to all of them, or was I playing Enter the Gungeon on my Switch while watching a couple of them? That's oddly specific for that not to be the answer. Anyway, not only because it's been so painful to get through, because it has been. Those, like, oh my gosh, Iron Fist was so bad. I did finish Luke Cage. And I'm not happy about that, because although it clearly ended saying like we won another season, I think nobody there really believed they were going to get another season. And Daredevil was just so like, I don't know, like blah, like they just did the whole Daredevil thing again. And you just, Murdoch is not who he was. And you just know the whole time, you're like, this is over. This whole thing is over. You know, it's like watching the X-Men cartoon in the 90s and you're watching like the last season and you see that things are like coming to a boil with like the mutant war and you're like, yeah, but it's just over, man. Or like Ronin Warriors at like the last season when you see like the Anubis gets the armor of cruelty, but like he just like transcends that and you're like, but it's the end, dude. Like what more is going to happen? Or like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, the cartoon series, when you're watching that and you're like, what more is going to happen? The show's over. We know that the bad guys win. Or like Mighty Max, when you're watching that and you're like, they lost funding. Or Mutant League, when you keep seeing the same episodes over and over again, even as a kid, and you realize like, this isn't going anywhere. That was a great show. This is my second reference to Mutant League in not only 3 weeks, but also 6 years. So again, if you haven't watched that show, it's worth a watch. I mean, it's not that many seasons, and it's probably pretty available right now, but it's a fantastic show. It's really funny, terrible animation, but it's just a really funny show. But anyway, this is where I was at with the Marvel shows. I was just like, oh God, this is like, I don't really get what they're trying to do. They actually looked like they were not trying to get the series to survive. You know, like when I was watching The Punisher, which had like an amazing first season. I'm watching the second season and I'm like, yeah, they want this to die. They're trying to turn off most of their audience. They weren't trying to pull in like, oh, here's a tie-in. Maybe Spider-Man could be in this, or maybe Morbius could be in this, or maybe Blade could be in this. Oh, I remember Blade. Oh, yeah, but remember Blade 2 and 3? Oof. But Wesley Snipes, though. Demolition Man? You know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, well, just watch Demolition Man. It's like really, it's either free or cheap. It's either free dollars or it's really inexpensive dollars. But I gotta say, Wesley Snipes is an amazing actor. And Blade would have been a great crossover. And I mean, just bring Wesley Snipes back as Blade. I mean, he's a vampire, so he's supposed to kind of not, but he's half vampire, so maybe he could age a little bit. The point is, Punisher didn't even try to make it like we want another season, and then like
DBDFP double down.
Looks like we're all set up for another season. Yeah, but the last 4 episodes made it look like you didn't. And Iron Fist, Iron Fist was, it wasn't a canary in the coal mine. It was the gas that the canary died from. Like that series was so blatantly written poorly and casted okay. And it's weird because it's like it wasn't casted horribly, but it was casted just poorly enough to make it like, we're going to force you to watch this kid pretend to be the Iron Fist. Oh, and we're going to put him in really stupid scenarios where the real Iron Fist would have been fine. But he's not going to be because stupid. So anyway, all of this to say, I went and watched Jessica Jones season 3 because, you know, it showed it was there. It was like, oh, new episodes of Jessica Jones. And I didn't remember, or I never knew that Jessica Jones was going to have a season 3. So I hesitated. And you do that thing on like Netflix where you just kind of like hover over and you like watch the preview or the beginning of the movie or the beginning of the episode, but you don't like commit to it. You're not like pressing play. You're just like watching it, sitting there like, yo, impress me. But then it did. And it was really good, and it's been really good. And like, forget some of the things that are really annoying and blatant and obviously annoying in the show and the series this season, because you just know those parts, those try hard parts, those parts where like somebody was like, well, we have to have that in this season. Ignore those because they're going to be everywhere. You're not going to get away with it. It's just that's television today. You want to see a really bad show where they do all of the things that you're supposed to do? Watch Roswell, New Mexico. It's the remake that we never asked for. I watched the first episode of that too. And because I actually, guilty pleasure, I watched all of the original Roswell series. Even that last season that was just, it was so awful. It made Days of Our Lives look like it deserved many, many, many awards, including the Nobel Peace Prize. The remake is much worse than the original. And because everything's forced. Everything is forced. And so there's those parts of Jessica Jones, but I mean, it's so few and far between. And it's just such an awesome cast. Everybody, I mean, the villain is so well casted. Jessica Jones, obviously, near and dear to my heart. She's just amazing. She's one of my favorite female superheroes, actually, in the whole of the Marvel Universe. And they so underplay her in the series that I kind of like it because they don't make her this super ridiculously powerful thing that becomes an avatar for Galactus and then comes back out of it and ends up having a kid. I mean, they do a lot of things in the comics that I don't need. Not disagree with, but don't need. Just don't need it. You know, cool. Jessica Jones, she's cool. Love the series. So here's what really bothers me is that this season is really good. And yeah, I only have like 2 episodes left of this season, but it's really bad. It's really, really bad that it's so good. I wish that it was as bad as Iron Fist. I could laugh, maybe cry, mostly just laugh. I would laugh a lot and then cringe a little bit and get through and like grit my teeth and not watch the last 4 episodes like I did with the other shows. And that would be fine. But the problem is, it's like there's never going to be another Marvel property with this cast again. You're not going to see Jessica Jones cast by this woman again, this actress, this amazing person. It's never going to happen. You're not going to hear that theme song again for those episodes. You're not going to see the continuity of the universe. They're going to retcon things. They may just never bring her up again. I mean, I know that they just released a timeline for like the next like 13 movies they're going to do by like 2022. Don't care. The point is, it's just really sad because it's just such a great environment for a show like hers. It's a detective show. It's that Alias Investigations. It's really, really good, and I'm just really upset about how good it is. Hey, where's Green Lantern so we can reset the universe? Not Ryan Reynolds. Like another Green Lantern that can reset the universe and make it so Ryan Reynolds was never Green Lantern. He was just always Deadpool. Because he was always Deadpool. Right? Right. Okay. So anyway, those are the 3 main topics that I wanted to deal with this week. Obviously, you know, it's one of them's going over the movie and a movie series. The other one's going over a Netflix series. The other one's going through a Netflix series. But it wasn't really so much of a best of the rest kind of week. I do want to do another new segment that I call Cleanup on Aisle Blank. So like whatever the episode is, obviously I'm Ned the Janitor. So I want to do a Cleanup on Aisle 157 this week. And this is kind of an advice corner with Dr. Eric. Here's some advice. You have lots of cool collectibles. You have old vintage video game systems. You have great VHSs or DVDs. Or just DVDs and Blu-rays because you're not a boomer. Or, you know, you intentionally collected them because obviously some things are better on VHS because they look really, really bad on DVD. My point is, you have a lot of things to entertain yourself. And as somebody who has enough of a backlog, so much of a backlog, I could build a log cabin. I gotta say, you need to schedule out, or should, I mean, obviously, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to be watching this. But you should take your collection. Take all the things that you really enjoy, just that game here, that system here, that movie there, that genre there, DVD, VHS, cassette tapes, records, whatever, and schedule your awesome time. I know that a lot of you guys that are watching this work, or you're in high school, or you're in college, and you have a lot on your plate. And it's fine. I mean, obviously, like I do too. I'm doing this on a Sunday evening, not for no reason. So my thing is, if you schedule out your awesome time so that, you know, you take what you collect and you play with it in a circuit, you know, like Super Nintendo, Atari, my VCR, like my DVD player, my favorite old movies, my favorite album to just listen to, like vinyl album I listen to, a board game, magic cards, like action figures to mess around with and pose in different ways. My pops, those are, I don't have any with me. If you don't know what they are, okay, that's fine. I didn't really either for a long time. But whatever, you know, whatever those things are, Hearthstone, like an old Diablo game, streaming with your friends, playing Left 4 Dead 2, get those all on a circuit. Because if you can actually make them all fit into a month or maybe a 3-month circuit, hopefully you have enough cool stuff where it's a 3-month circuit, you really can enjoy all the nerdy goodness that you call your own. Isn't that the point? I mean, unless you're one of those collectors that just has like a mint condition, in the case, perfect glass, hermetically sealed, nitrogen gassed Black Lotus, and then you're using like, what, a proxy? You got some land and it just says Black Lotus on it. Whatever. Maybe you're that person. But whatever it is that you collect, whatever it is that you do, like take out that comic book, brush it off, read it. It was a good comic. You collected it for a reason. You were into that Spider-Man series for a reason. You were into Final Fight 2 for a reason. You liked Pac-Man. You were into Space Invaders. You really liked getting a high score and bragging about it. Like, go to your Dave & Buster's. Go to an arcade. Do these things on a circuit. Call your friends up. Get them online and play Magic the Gathering online. It has like 1 million people playing it right now. Get into the circuit. You don't just have to use cockatrice anymore. And if you don't know what that is, like, you're not even involved in Magic Online, don't worry about it. But there are plenty of ways that you can enjoy the stuff you collect. And if you're not enjoying it, sell it. Sell it. Get more of the things you actually want to play with and enjoy. Like, what? I mean, yeah, some stuff looks really good on a shelf. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like this guy, you know, look at him. Work of art. Beauty. Literally, artwork. I'm not going to sell him. I get like $1 for him anyway. But I'm not going to sell my Legend of Zelda for the NES with everything complete, 1 and 2 with the gold cases. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to sell those, but I'm going to play the shit out of those games. Why? Because I really like them, and I enjoy putting the game into the NES, taking it out, putting alcohol on it. I know that's like corrosive, whatever. Shh. Putting it back in, playing it, having that save file that may or may not make it because the battery is like 30 years old. I love playing those games. And, you know, sometimes I play the ROMs when I want to have that save file going on. Or, like, I have the SNES Mini and I'm playing Final Fantasy III again. And that's awesome. And Mega Man X, I beat again. And I met the President of the United States again. I didn't do that. But there are a lot of things that I go back and I enjoy on a regular basis. I go through my horror movie collection every year. We will talk about that as we get into September, not October, because we need time. But we'll talk about that. I go through the things that I own and I play with them and I enjoy them and I interact with them. Left 4 Dead 2, I just played that like 3-4 days ago. I don't know, that game's like a couple years old. That came out a minute ago. But it's really fun. And so I encourage you, if you have things that you enjoy, but you find yourself doing the same thing over and over again, like maybe you just always have to get the new game, or you always have to play on the new online system, or they had an update on this
DBDFP double down,
stupid WoW thing going on. I don't know, whatever it is. Like, I'm not knocking anything that you're doing. All I'm saying is, if you just keep hitting the same buttons over and over again for entertainment, you're forgetting why you loved all of the other things that you used to cherish. And much like Andy, you're a jerk, and you left all your toys behind. And pretty soon, some other kid's going to write their name on the bottom of all your stuff's shoe. Or bottom of the cartridge, or something like that. And that's not good. Don't be that jerk. Don't be that Andy. Play with your stuff. That's the cleanup on aisle 157. Anyway, I'm not going to go through the mailbag this week. I am going to entertain any questions and comments that you have below if you're watching this after the fact. And otherwise, I'm going to take on the emails for this week, add them to last week's, and I'll do a really cool mailbag next week, maybe. It depends on how inspired I am for next week's topic. Other than that, I will see you all next time, and stay safe, stay nerdy, don't ride too dirty, and I will catch you next week. This is NEDTJ on DBDFP, signing out.
Defeated by delicious